Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, everybody. I hope you're all well and healthy and still hanging there. Let's crack on with today's fantastic webinar. My name is Gary Hodgson, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's ICOACHKIDS Shares live webinar, which is number 19 in our series. With me, I have Sergio Lara-Bercial, who will co-host today's session.
And Gary, your pronunciation of my name is getting better and better after every webinar. Amazing. Thanks, Gary, and thank you everybody for your time today. I'm absolutely delighted that you could join us. Today we're going to explore the topic of girls in sport with two amazing guests, and I have to say very good friends and very inspiring friends as well. Before we meet them, I'm going to hand over back to Gary for some housekeeping.
Yeah, we just have some kind of general messages to those who have just joined. So make sure that throughout the webinar that you keep your cameras and microphones off. Be sure to use the chat function to submit any questions that you have. I'll be collating those to ask our presenters later. If you're on YouTube right now, live on YouTube, please just type your questions in the comment box and we'll collect from there as well. And remember that we're all here to share and learn, so be respectful to all. While you're with us today, please consider following us on all of our social channels, whether that be via YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, Instagram. And also be sure to sign up for one of our free e-learning courses, which is elearning.icoachkids.eu. So, Sergio, back over to you, I think.
Thanks, Gary. So my job now is to explain a little bit how the webinar is going to run today. First, I'm going to do just a tiny bit of scene setting, really, to set the scene for the webinar. Then Gary will introduce our lovely speakers. And then the first thing we will do is to have a little bit of a chat with them about their journey in and through sport before we give them the floor to present on the topic. And then we'll close the day with some questions from ourselves, but also we will open the floor to you so you can ask any questions you may have. In terms of setting the scene, as you know, this month, the month of March, was the women and girls in sport. That was the topic of the month for ICOACHKIDS. We had a webinar at the beginning of the month around the idea of women into coaching, and we had a fantastic discussion with 4 world experts in the area. And today we're actually going to take it another step forward. We are going to talk about girls in sport and about how do we maximize the recruitment and the sustainability of having more girls start sport and remain in sport. Very recently, we've conducted some research as part of ICOACHKIDS in collaboration with Leeds Beckett University, where we look at the participation trends of male and female young people across 13 European countries and a multitude of sports. Okay, and as well as the participation trends, which showed a decline in participation, particularly from 12 years of age onwards. What was really striking is that we actually saw that overall, and I'm telling you, we sampled over 5 million young people for this study, okay? A fantastic sample. We saw that 75% were boys and only 25% were girls. So we are seeing already that there is an issue there with 3/4 of the population being boys and only 25% of those young people taking part in sport being girls. So that's why today is a really important day where we're going to discuss some of the issues and the solutions, particularly from the perspective of a big governing body like FIBA. And for that, we've got 2 great people. So I'm going to hand over to Gary, who's going to introduce these 2 very good friends.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have our 2 guests on board with us today. And let me just introduce them to you. So we have, first of all, Ramila Turner, who's head of National Federation's Youth and Anti-Doping for FIBA Europe, with 253 caps for the Bulgarian national team. Following a 12-year professional sporting career, Ramila made a successful transition to sports admin and management, with past roles including management positions at English and British basketball academic institutions in the UK, and basketball clubs in various countries and in the private sector. Her current responsibilities include overseeing development programs for national federations, strategic planning for youth basketball, and management of the anti-doping program in Europe. She also holds 2 master's degrees in sport management, education, and leadership. Over to our second speaker, who is Betty Febrian. If I've said that correctly, Betty, I try my best to get my Spanish pronunciation right, who is the head of women in basketball and special projects at FIBA Europe. She has 252 caps with the Spanish national team, so her and Ramila are competing on cap numbers there, with a 17-year professional career as a basketball player at the highest European and USA in the WNBA leagues. Her academic qualifications include an international master in sports management and the highest basketball coaching certificate in Spain. From 2006 to 2012, working with the Spanish Basketball Federation as women's national team high performance and development manager. 2012 to 2014 with FIBA Europe in the 3x3 basketball department. Since 2014, FIBA Europe Special Projects Manager, and since 2020, FIBA's Head of Women in Basketball. It is an absolute pleasure to have you both here with us today. Welcome to the ICOACHKIDS Shares webinar series, and back over to you, Sergio.
Thanks, Gary. Betty, Ramila, how are you today?
Hey. Fantastic, and very happy to be here.
Brilliant. Well, before I ask you the question of telling you or asking you to tell us about your journey through sport, I just wanted to make 2 observations about each of them. Okay. So first, Ramila was actually my boss for a couple of years when I was coaching national teams in the UK. So she was my performance manager. We had many good discussion and also a couple of fallouts as well, but our friendship survived, and I actually coached Ramila's daughter as well, who is a fantastic basketball player. And then my story about Betty is a bit different, right? When as a 15-year-old, back in 1991, I think it was, I was playing in my under 16 year. We were asked one day to go and play against the women's national team that was preparing for the 92 Olympics in Barcelona. And a very young Betty Cebrian was in that team. So here is me at 15, and my coach, who was a bit ignorant, I have to say, at the time, okay, said to us, guys, just go easy on the girls, okay? And my goodness, within 30 seconds of the game, they were all over us, okay? There were elbows, there were, by the time, before we knew it, we were down by 20, because this team was spectacular, amazing, okay? And Betty was part of that team. So it taught me a lesson for life, okay? And I'm delighted that we're here today with the 2 of them. So I'm gonna start with Ramila. Ramila, one thing that we know is that the journey of every girl in sport is different, okay? So we wanted to really understand a little bit about your own journey. So if you want to give us a summary of your journey so far.
Thanks, Sergio, with pleasure. It's interesting to actually go back a little bit the memory lane anyway, and also to kind of reflect and see what impacted your journey and sort of kept us involved in the sport for so many years anyway. So going back to my journey, I'm Bulgarian by origin, from Sofia. And I have, if you like, the idyllic childhood, combining education and sport at that time. I was living very close, walking distance from one of the biggest multi-sport clubs in Bulgaria, CSKA, which is similar to Barcelona, if you like, and Real Madrid in Spain. And I was recruited because I was this skinny, athletic kid full of energy, quite tall for my age. So I was recruited during the PE lessons from practically every coach of the club in most sports, volleyball, basketball, athletics, you name it, most sports. I tried most of those, and I kind of end up with basketball at the end because I found it more entertaining and exciting. And obviously the coach, who was a lady, very polite, former player, also very well structured, she really had a very good access to us as people, to each of the players. And every time each of us, for whatever reason, lost interest partially into the sessions or the sport. She found a way in to keep us involved. So I think going back in time, I was 11, 12 years old. If it wasn't for that coach and her approach, getting into my life, if you like, and motivating me and highlighting the opportunities and the positives of the sport, I probably would have moved to doing something else. So this I remember, and actually I kept that relationship in my life, all my life. Unfortunately, she passed away recently, but this was a person of huge influence, very positive influence. So interestingly, at the age of 13, so only a couple of years into this, I was competing. The club was very well organized, so this was all very positive. We started to travel internationally, which again was another positive experience that kept me involved and interested, because you, from this young age, you start to discover new places. And of course, traveling not just with your family, but traveling with a group of friends and doing what you love, which is the sport, was another huge positive for me to start to pursue this career. The next steps were we changed clubs. I will not go into it for a different reason. One club decided to fold certain sports, and then we moved to another. And I moved to a club at the age of 15, another multi-sport club, very successful in the same city, Levski Spartak, which had 4 Olympians that just returned from the Olympic Games in Moscow with the silver medal. And they were twice my age. We had a very young coach, former player. So we are basically a nice blend of older generation players, a lot older, and a bunch of 15 to 20-year-olds, so 15 to 19, I would say, which was the other half of the team. And this coach pushed young talent a lot. So he started to play us not just in the rotation, but in the starting 5. So I ended up age 16 in the starting 5 of a EuroLeague women's game practically. And this was like an away game as well, with the full green light of making mistakes and basically improving in that way. So these are important steps actually in anybody's career, especially in a girl's career. And again, particularly with the family behind me that was always telling me that education is more important than sport. So these kind of things are very important, having these opportunities, this enjoyment, and also learning how to combine both, but mainly the trust of the coach and the teammates that kept me very much into the sport. So I progressed from there. This was a very successful club. We won the European Cup. This was the EuroLeague. Today, at the time, it was the European Champions Cup, when I just turned 20. And again, the majority of my teammates were this age, 20 to 23, with only 2 veteran players. And again, no foreign players in our team. This was huge success. And also, this was the core of our national team. So over the next 10 years, we won 8 national titles, 9 national cups. This was very successful generation of Bulgarian women's basketball anyway. We played 2 world championships. We had 2 Olympic shows. Unfortunately, the first one in '84 in Los Angeles, there was a boycott of the Olympic Games, so we could not participate. But in '88 in Seoul, we did, and we finished in 5th place, which was very positive. And then after that period, most of us, after so many years at national teams, including youth, very successful youth national team performances, we basically started to focus on setting families, going and play overseas, and basically just building other experiences. So in my case, I married a British man, a former referee, and moved to the UK. And this was the first difference of comparing, if you like, the opportunities in both countries, because in UK at the time, basketball was very amateurish with the exception of the men's league. So this was the main difference, especially in the women's basketball, of going from fully professional athletes to basically just doing this in your spare time. And what impressed me actually at that time in England is the commitment of the players and the coaches. And this is how you actually learn, something that you wouldn't consider in previous years. You just look at your contract and you say, well, I'm not playing for this, or, I don't like this project. And then you move into an environment where people are actually putting their heart and soul into the sport, and it's not for any commercial reasons. We spent a couple of years there, and then obviously missing the high-level basketball, we moved to other countries, and we lived in a number of other countries, being involved in high-level basketball, and I kind of experienced different roles, from coaching at high level to being a manager, general manager of the national and club teams, to doing even running our own business, sports business, until we had our second child and we returned to the UK. So as Sergio mentioned, in my second part of the journey, I learned a lot of things to stop thinking as a player and to start thinking more as organizer and manager. What was important, again, going back to my Bulgarian years, is that I had the opportunity at the time, and this was something really positive in our country, that I had the opportunity to study part-time, which of course at the time was not easy, at the National Sports Academy, which was a 5.5-year full master degree, while playing professional basketball. So that flexibility was fantastic, because this really served me a purpose later on when I moved to United Kingdom and I looked for this managerial and teaching academic positions. So again, I did different roles in England. I worked as a senior lecturer in coaching science. I worked within the system as far as development officer. And then I was a performance manager, working with the organization and setup of the national teams, just trying to work together with colleagues to put them in a more professional footing, and just to start basically improving the systems within the boundaries we had. And then some years later, in 2006, after the success of the Commonwealth Games, teams that won bronze at that time, which was really very positive improvement, I had an invitation from FIBA Europe to come to the office and work here. So basically, since then, I'm in this office and I work in different roles. Mainly in the development of youth and the national federations and many other programs that we'll get into it pretty soon. So yes, the most important thing to mention is the people that you meet through your life, the positive impact. So to drop the negative, keep the positive, keep basketball close to your heart. This is the crucial thing. And for me, the most positive thing of all, is, besides the experiences, is keeping these friendships for life that we created over the past number of years. So in all, I'm still very happy to be in the sport I love most.
Thanks, Ramila. So many great steps really in that journey, and it's a fantastic journey. I mean, it's a journey to be very proud of, and in my case, to be very jealous of. Okay, it's an amazing career. We're gonna go over to Betty to give us her own journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio, and thanks for having me. Well, my journey is very similar. So obviously, can you imagine, Sergio, you are Spanish as well. Growing up in Spain as a 195 tall girl is not easy. So actually, when I was 12, 13, my mom was a little bit concerned because I was a shy girl. Believe me, I was shy and introvert. And I was I liked all sports, but I could not really kind of find anything. And my mom decided to try basketball because she's tall as well. And then that was a magic moment where I went to a club near Barcelona, and somebody put me the magic orange ball in my hands, and I fall in love in this sport. So then everything kind of started smoothly for me because I was so tall. Everybody wanted me to be in the team. So they really made my life easy to stay in basketball. And then another turning point was, as you mentioned, Sergio, were the Olympic Games in Barcelona, because I was lucky enough to be part of this team that were preparing. And I was at that time 18 years old, where I managed to be in this preparation team for the Olympics. And then we moved to Madrid. And everything came kind of smoothly, and I was part of the team. As you mentioned, I was very young, but I was getting the experience. Obviously, in Spain, because of my age, I was dominating. But then when I started playing international games, I was realizing, oh my goodness, this is not so easy out there. So I had to really focus on improving and really take it seriously. After 92 was a moment when I really also saw the possibility of becoming professional with that, because I was already in love with the sport, but I didn't know if I want to stay there forever. So this is a moment where I saw, okay, I can be professional, win money with this. So basically, this is the whole thing, right? At the end is to work in what is your passion and what you like. And as Ramila mentioned, so I'm very proud to find my dream and that I can work with my passion, right? So always when the people ask me about coaches that really impacted my life, I will always mention this first coach when I was in this first team, because she actually is also a woman like Ramila. She is probably the reason why I'm here with you today. You know, so for me, this is the person that impacted my whole journey, and I'm happy to when I discovered the sport and I could stay in sport. So here I am. That's everything transits very smoothly.
Thank you. Thanks, Betty. And again, another amazing career, really, really to be proud of. Interestingly, you both mentioned the idea of your first coach was a female coach that really was more into, that really looked after you and saw you as a little girl, as opposed to seeing you just as a future professional athlete. Okay, and we'll come back to that later. Of course, you're also, both of you are successful athletes. So the system worked for you at the time, but we also know that it doesn't work for everybody. And I think that's the point of today, that FIBA is doing a hell of a lot of work to increase the number of people that the system works for, and that we can bring more girls and women into the FIBA family. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to you. I know you've prepared a presentation to tell us all about what FIBA is doing in this area, and I'm sure the audience will be really excited to hear about those developments. So over to you.
Thank you, Sergio. We would like to share very much with the audience today some of our programs, because we both are very passionate of these developments, actually, and hopefully what is coming for the future. Just one point, of course, and we'll come back to this probably a couple of times during the presentation, is that what we are most proud of at FIBA Europe is that we do everything equally. Whatever program we put forward, competition or other programs, it's always identical for the male and the female. What we added in lately in the last couple of years is, without going into details of what is equity and what is equality, it's a little bit of extra push on the female side, but this was mainly to encourage involvement and participation, because we sort of noticed that in some cases, it's more related to people being more shy or not pushing some of their positive projects forward. So hopefully this will help us to move forward. So the way we'll present, if you like, our programs and strategy today is that I'll cover in more generic terms, just touch on a few things that we're currently doing. And then Betty will expand in details some of the selected projects that we would like to give a little bit more attention to. And of course, in her role as Women in Basketball leader or head of, for the next few years, she will just touch on what we intend to do for the future. So I already mentioned the competitions, and of course, we'll talk a lot more about youth today, but youth without having something or somebody to inspire, of course, it's not necessarily the most ambitious and positive case. So in our case, we are very proud at FIBA Europe as what we do for women's basketball competitions. First and most important event that we have, and actually it's taken place also this year, this is the FIBA Women's Eurobasket. It takes place every 2 years. And in some cases, it's organized by one country, and in others, it's organized by multiple hosts. So this year's event will take place in France and Spain, with the final round being in Valencia, Spain. We have participation through qualifications of most European federations. And again, we'll go back to that. We have 15 total. So all of them have right to actually register and take part. And again, something that we are first as far as at world level or globally is that we've taken the approach a few years ago of putting the women's qualifiers mid-season, so during the club season with a few breaks, similar to the Men's World Cup qualifiers, but also using the model of football and practically all other team sports who are playing their qualifiers during the winter months. The purpose of that is exactly this, to inspire the next generation, to make the national teams more visible in their countries. Because if they're only play outside of their homeland, all qualifiers and then potentially their final rounds, it's not enough opportunities to actually showcase the best talent of the country and to inspire the new generation. So this has been very, very successful. They usually play in November and February, and they basically, no, this is, Betty, just go back to the senior, sorry. And they, in many cases, this was like a huge step forward. Of course, the hidden part here is that in some cases, some of the top teams may lose to so-called an outsider for whatever reason, but this is even more important in sport to have the element of surprise. So again, please follow in June, end of June is the Eurobasket Women. You'll see really the most important players, the biggest stars that are inspiring the next generation. The next step at national team level is our youth championships. We are the only international federation that is organizing youth national team championships every single year. If you look at the numbers here, they're huge. And this is only the girls' part. So we have 122 teams from 49 countries participating in 3 age groups, under 16, under 18, and under 20. They play last edition of these European Championships, 412 games. So it's anywhere between 400 and 440 games could be played over the summer months. They, as I already mentioned, they split in 3 divisions, A, B, and C. So the A division is the top 16 teams. And of course, every year we have promotion and relegation. Between B and A division, the top 2 teams, top 3 in some years go up and 3 go down. That way we have the opportunity of talented teams to qualify. And then we have Division C, which is again the most developmental level, started with the small states, small countries in Europe, but now we have practically everybody participating there. And again, it's a promotion there where the top team qualifies for Division B every year, or they have the opportunity to go forward. In total, there are 8 annual tournaments. So we are very, very happy. Just one point to mention there is that we actually heavily subsidize those events, and the majority of the reserves of FIBA Europe, basically this is our income from top events like Olympic Games and Eurobasket and other income streams are invested in youth, in the national team championships, but also in projects, and we'll come back to that later. We basically subsidize every youth national team with a sum, and we also subsidize the tournament organizers. And we are very proud that we have 8 female and 8 male tournaments every summer. So we have 16 different organizers every single year, and all of these games are on YouTube, free of charge and live, which is again fantastic investment from our side, and we feel extremely important. So we are really, really proud with that. So when we moved also the club competitions, the top club event for women, the top league is the EuroLeague Women. It's excellent standards, and we do believe that this is arguably the best women's league in the world. It's purely because even if you compare with WNBA, if you compare the conditions, for example, the salaries of the players in Europe, they can earn up to 10 times more per season that they, for example, are earning in the States. And also is because it's the best international talent is playing in these clubs. It has long traditions. It has a fantastic following as well, very passionate. And we are working very hard now to take it, if you like, to the next level as far as visibility and also following for international fans that are not necessarily very familiar with the competition. The Euro Cup Women is our second club competition in Europe, and this is for us the entry phase. It's also the developmental phase, very popular with a lot of clubs. We do have standards, of course, a lot higher for the EuroLeague Women, but also for the Euro Cup Women. But we really encourage most national federations to help their clubs to enter the international competitions, because as we will reflect with Betty, I already mentioned my experience starting at the age of 16 and playing at that level against the best international players. This is extremely important for development of talent, to have this international exposure and also bring these games home to the community. So these are our two top competitions, very, very excited about it. In the last few years, you probably noticed, we also introduced the 3x3. It's a different discipline, it's not a different sport, it's all basketball, but it's just a different discipline. And actually for us, this is again extremely exciting, because this targets different type of players even, and it offers again fantastic opportunity for our sport to be visible, because as you could see here in the pictures, people can play outdoors. They usually play competitions in the city centers. It's very easy to organize, and of course it's less structured. Not every player likes to be in a set structure with regular sessions, etc., going to facilities and all the rest of it. 3-on-3 offers the opportunity for people to do it in their own time and to compete, but we also organize various tours and national team competitions at the highest level. And of course, this year, we are for the first time at the Olympic Games, which is amazing. And it provides opportunities to federations that cannot necessarily field a very competitive team on five basketball. So to have 12 high-level players, they can actually easily compete at 3x3 and get all the way to the Olympics. Andorra is one example. They were only a few points away of being world champions only a couple of years ago. And just one final touch for this is, of course, we have senior level competitions, and we also have youth, under 17 and under 23. And we have continental qualifiers and then leading to the world events. So then we move to some of the programs that we run. And before I pass to Betty, I'll just touch on a few of those. Of course, everything is player-centered, and we do a lot for development of players, as you could see. And being international federation, of course, our role is not to deliver the program, so to coach the players, provide that, but to provide the opportunity for everybody to link, connect, and participate in those competitions. But we also try to organize a lot of events that support the coaches, organizers, and developers of the game in general. So here are just examples of two events that we organize annually. The Under 14 Get Together is an event that is focused on specialists working with players at the Under 14 age group. Talking about our competitions previously, as you could see, we start at the Under 16 level. So we feel that this already entered the excellence phase, meaning that everything from 16 and up, it's already covered through the competitions. But of course, looking at the Under 15 and Under 14 level and below, we feel that there's specifics that are very important, especially in this age group, as Sergio already touched. Some of the initial dropouts are noticed when kids move to secondary school. So what happens between the ages of 11, 12, and 14? This is why this event is so important to us. And the way we organize this is we go to different countries every year. We would like to see a little bit of their program. So they usually present what they do and how they work, what is their system. And we always have guest lecturers and presenters that work with the delegates. And of course, we have various forums and discussions. And of course, mini basketball, how can I forget? Sergio is very heavily involved in that. We work closely with ICOACHKIDS. We, of course, have a lot of involvement and try to develop now this movement of mini basketball, which is for the youngest kids. So moving on, Betty, to the next. I just finally, before I pass to Betty, it's just a couple of other things to mention. The FIBA Europe Coaching Certificate, some of you already have probably been involved or know about it. It's a program we started in 2007. It's every federation can nominate one delegate. I would like to highlight here the growth of female coaches participants in the program. In the first edition in 2007, we had only 2 out of 60. And this year we are up to 38% the registrations for this year. So we are really very pleased that this number is growing. It's a very high level course over 3 summers. And basically it's focused specifically on the youth development of youth players. So high level experts participate in this program. And the summit, I will not go into too much details. As you can see, it's another age group under 15. Again, we are running this event from 2007, which was the year of women's basketball, and it evolved a lot over the years. But basically, it's an event for female players, female coaches, and female referees, just talking about pathways and specificities about developing female athletes and everything related to women in basketball. So I pass over to Betty to go into more details in some of those programs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ramila. Yeah, just we have a video to show you, 1-minute video about the summit. So as Ramila mentioned, is just targeting women. We asked all 50 federations to participate, and they can register 2 female players aged under 15, 1 female coach and 1 female referee. We are 4 or 5 days in Slovenia in a very nice place with a lot of basketball courts, indoor and outdoor, and we do, as you can imagine, a normal camp. But I think I'm going to show you the video. It's going to be self-explanatory. So you saw a little bit the atmosphere. So basically, everything is about giving opportunities, right? So that all these girls they can follow their dreams. And as you can see in this video, we invite our FIBA instructors, whether it is referees or coaches. They are all FIBA recognized instructors. But also we invite ambassadors, different professional players to be there and be as a role models and interact with the players, and also sometimes being also on the court with them. So this is a fantastic experience, and also for us it's a good moment to see the talents that are coming for the next generation of events. So this is a very important program that we have for just targeting exclusively women and girls. And Ramila, I don't know if you want to finish with the projects and then I move on, or
no, you can just
okay. So we just put here also 2 projects that are Erasmus, like ICOACHKIDS also is connected to Erasmus funding. So is the Timeout Project, which is a dual career project that we are helping players to transition smoothly and to provide education to the players so that they can then move in an easier way to once they're retired. So we also work with the federation, of course, again, so they can nominate, and always 1 female players and 1 male players they can nominate, and then at the end we end up with a group of 50 elite players going through the program. Now we already are in the second Timeout 2.0, where we reduced a little bit the number of players, but we always balance the genders, and at the end of this education, they receive their certificate, whether it is as a FIBA manager or leadership and management. So this is a project that helps us a lot to put also more women, obviously also men, but specifically for the women, it's very important to give these women the opportunity to step up, and that the federations, they can use them once they retire and be part of their structures. So in addition to this time, as I mentioned, the second edition, we had a very specific part just dedicated to women in leadership. where the idea is, again, to give opportunities to women that are working in our organizations to come, to network, to increase and work on their personal skills, things about communication skills, learn about the reality of business of sport. So we have 31 women working, participating in this program. So this is more or less this Erasmus. So now, as Ramila mentioned, I would like just to give you small details about the two funding projects or programs that we have in FIBA Europe. As she mentioned, FIBA Europe is firm in the decision in investing the reserves in the youth development, which is for us the most important asset for the federation, but also obviously for FIBA Europe as the continental governing body, right? So here I have, as you can see, we have one project. This is the Youth Development Fund. We always do these projects, again, in cooperation or in partnership between FIBA Europe and the national federations. There is a funding, but there is also a co-funding. So federations have to invest a little bit, a small percentage also in these projects. And the Youth Development Fund is for both genders. The target age is under 14 and 13. And then we have another one, as Sergio mentioned at the beginning, we identified a small, a gap, not a small, with the girls that participate in our sport. That's why we decided to launch this Her World, Her Rules Girls campaign, which targets only girls. Okay, so I'm going to bring you through these two programs. So the first one, as I mentioned, all 50 federations, again, are eligible to participate. The way they can participate is to submit projects connected to youth. And the funding is 40,000 euros maximum. And we have certain requirements to apply, but we are quite flexible. And we always like that the federations, not to tell the federation what to do in their country. So they are the ones that know the strategy, the needs in their country. That's why we keep it very open. Obviously, a lot of projects connected to grassroots, to schools activities, to mini basketball as well. Some are using this funding to create new youth structures, like new leagues and new competition for youth. So this is more or less the target projects that we have here. It's always important to have an ambassador, so to nominate one or more figures or faces for this project, so that the kids, they can grow up and identify themselves with these role models. And if you want to know more, you are welcome to join the Youth Development Fund Facebook group, where you will see what the federations are doing there. This is the Youth Development Fund, and as I mentioned, the Her World, Her Rules is more a campaign. As you can see, it is a little bit more colorful. It's a little bit not in this kind of serious FIBA corporate image. So we risk it a little bit. We have more fun materials and more fun branding. So this is the Welcome to My Playground is the motto of this campaign. And it works similar to the Youth Development Fund. So we start with this campaign in 2018. And every year, federations, year by year, they can apply. And this campaign is connected to schools. We want to attract new girls, to raise the awareness about our sport in the school. So that's why we are asking federations to go and hook new girls for our sport. So this is a campaign that was very successful, implemented 3 years in Europe. And now, as of 2021, we are very proud to see this campaign now growing and expanding at world level. So this campaign will now be implemented all around the world. So this is something that we are very proud of. So here again, you see the goal to increase girls' participation, recruiting more girls at school age through various activities. Here again, we are very flexible. We ask them to connect the projects with the women's leagues, for example. They can do it with the clubs, with the local clubs, with schools. So everything is eligible. The most important thing is that we are keeping the target and attracting new girls. The total budget per year is 500 euros. The federations can get up to 20,000 euros. But here is the novelty is that we also sponsor with balls. Every country can get up to 300 balls, size 5 or 6 balls, branded as well. And is a very fun campaign. And also we were lucky to have a lot of players, top level players involved and supporting the campaign. And we create a promotional video that I would like to share with you so that you see a little bit of this as well. So let me see if it works.
My mom wanted me to become a doctor.
My grandfather wanted me to become a scientist.
A ballerina.
A model.
A writer. A mathematician.
A developer.
An artist.
My dad wanted me to become a lawyer.
My sister, a policewoman.
My friends wanted me to become a teacher.
An accountant.
That something was not me.
I chose to become myself. My playground.
My rules.
My choice.
All right, so you saw all these women that are in the video. They are all top stars in our EuroLeague women competition, players from around Europe, and they were all really committed and supportive with this campaign. And here you can see, for example, Ekaterinburg, which is one of the EuroLeague women top clubs, having also their own activities around the campaign and promoting the campaign in Russia. So this is something that we are really proud of. And here you can see the variety of merchandising and possibilities that this campaign has. And we really invite anybody to join the campaign. You only need to connect with your national federation, and all national federation, all this branding is for free. We don't have any rights. You can also use your own sponsor. It's very open and adaptable to each country, and you can even change and translate the message, welcome to my playground. So you are also welcome to go on Twitter, use the hashtag #RevoltHerRules and see what the world out there is doing connected to this campaign. And finally, I just, as we mentioned at the beginning, I want to just summarize with one more slide the FIBA strategic pillar. So in the FIBA Congress back in 2019, FIBA decided to have 3 strategic pillars for this term. The 3 strategic pillars are empowerment of national federations, women in basketball, and enlarge the FIBA family. So finally, after many years of waiting, we are happy to have this as a key priority for FIBA. And the project the strategy has 6 different goals, which I'm going to go very fast because we are running out of time. So the first one is obvious, is increased female participation. We talk a lot about that, about the campaign that will go now globally, Her World, Her Rules, and also trying to reduce the dropout. This is something very important for us as well in this specific goal. Then we have coaches, development of coaches and referees, also key and crucial for us. Also to have more elite coaches, because we see some women, but they always stay at the youth level, and we want also them to progress and have a professional career. The third one is about increasing the number of fans consuming women's basketball, whether it is men or women, but we want to see full stadium, commercialize the sport, and and grow the fan base for women in basketball. This is our third pillar here. The fourth is obviously to maximize the impact of our competition. Ramila mentioned all the club competition, national team, youth, but obviously in Europe we are well developed, but we need to also work globally in growing this at all in all continents, and obviously including 3x3 and make 3x3 growing. That I'm sure after the Olympics will have an impact as well there, and we will see more girls working that. Then we have the governance goal, which is also important, to have more women and increase the diversity in our elected bodies at FIBA, but also at national federation level. We need to see more women as well in these important and relevant decision bodies. And the last one is connected to FIBA, is also to balance the gender diversity in our FIBA family. So this is a quick summary of the strategy. I'm happy to answer any specific question if you have. Thanks for listening. And back over to Sergio.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you, Ramila, for that fantastic presentation. Really, obviously, I'm extremely biased for two reasons, because I know you, but also because basketball is my sport. But it is really, I mean, I've been very fortunate over the last 2-3 years to do a lot of work with FIBA, and really FIBA are putting their money where their mouth is. They really are going for it, and it's not just empty words. So I just wanted to congratulate you in that regard. And without further ado, I'm just going to ask you one question, and then we're going to go to questions from the audience, because there's quite a few, really. My main question is, obviously you get national federations sending you proposals for the Youth Development Fund and the Hair World, Hair Rules. So what are the typical strategies or typical barriers that people are trying to fix with these proposals? What's the common themes really that you see?
You mean the barriers when applying, or the barriers when deciding the strategy?
Yeah, when deciding their strategy to bring more girls into basketball.
Well, obviously the national federations need to think outside their box, you know, and usually federations, they work more, or they put the priority in the regular competitions, right? Which is whether it is the league and this. So they need to start obviously and growing and looking outside what is happening out there and connecting with new stakeholders, which is schools, regional leagues, and all these other that are part of the federation, but they sometimes kind of not prioritizing there. So this is probably the first challenge, to say, okay, who is going to go there to the schools and see what can be done now? So they need to sometimes even hire new people to do that. And it is a full strategy. It's not just, as you mentioned, to do a project for the sake of going and getting the money. So you really need to think and have a legacy and give a legacy after this investment, right? So
if I can just say, it depends of the country. So some countries actually cannot get into the schools. It's because it's an education environment, so they have to be creative and organize other activities. But there are certain federations, and I'll give the Czech Federation as example. They actually use these projects very well strategically into building them and fitting them into their own national federation strategy, which is ideal. So for example, if in your country there is an area of the country, a city or a region where girls basketball, for example, is in the last few years declined, then they can put the project there and put a little bit more emphasis, re-energize that. Or if they want to introduce 3x3 to certain age category and make a festival, and then use this as an opportunity to build, I can do that. It does vary from federation to federation. And also I would say that because they're usually on 2-year cycles, then they may start with certain idea and then want to continue with the next stage as well. But of course, not everybody some of them put a project that doesn't work, and we support them to make sure that next time around they actually plan better. It does vary.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense, really. You've mentioned two things, really. One, that if you're going to do something, you probably need to think outside the box, like Betty said, and not just go to the traditional things that we've done for decades, really. But also that you, as you said, Ramila, that you really need to know yourself and your country, and before you develop a program, really understand what your country needs and what may work for your country, because we can't really do copy and paste here.
No, and this is why we are not pushing. This is the FIBA Euro program. You all do the same across. We give them the opportunity to make it their own, and we support them within the frames of the age group and the general idea.
Fantastic. Flexibility really to apply, to do what they really need. Perfect. Okay, so on that note, I'm gonna go to Gary. Gary, what's the audience saying?
Yeah, we've got lots of different questions from the audience. And to help us ask these, I just thought I'd just put one on the screen to begin with. So Phil asks, what qualities does a coach of girls need to have? And in building on that, Are these qualities any different to those required to coach either or any gender?
Betty, do you want to start first and then I'll wait?
Yeah, well, I did my coaching degree to know that I don't want to coach, but I'm just saying that because I think this is a very dedicated job, and yeah, you need to put all your energy there. So that's why I'm not good at, or I decided not to go this way. But definitely, if you want to coach girls, you need to have a very, let's put it not on a technical side. I think coaching is coaching, and obviously you need to adapt like you would do if you coach senior men or under 18 or under 14, right? So on a technical, tactical side, I would say there is not big difference. You need to know the age group, you need to know what's the team. But when it comes more on the psychological side of the coaching, I think here everybody should have, or all these coaching courses should introduce a specific chapter on how you talk to girls or boys. I think this should be addressed a little bit different, and also know how to learn the personalities of the people that you are working. So Sergio, you are an expert on that, so you know that you cannot treat everybody the same, but probably for the girls, especially when you are starting with all these kind of concerns that the girls have that probably are different than the men, you need to know this as well. So this could be probably my first. And
I'll
then we
just
can
add
discuss.
that technically you have to be a good coach. This is clear, because even if you create the best environment and the cleanest and the best relationships, if people don't improve in the sport earlier or later, they'll say, why am I not improving? So you do have to know your stuff. But yes, it is very important in my experience, not just when I was a player, but what I observe also with my daughter and other teams. You observe good and bad coaching. With the difference with the women is that you have, if you like, players that are more emotionally needy. So they go to the coach often, they cry, they ask questions, they need the support. The guys rarely do that. And the issue is not these players, but the others. If you're not as needy and if you're a stronger character, it doesn't mean that you don't need the coach to talk to you as well, you know? So sometimes balancing this in a team is very important. The coach have to give equal time to the players to have the one-on-ones and also build the group. And I think these things are important to monitor when working with the female players, more so than with the male, I would say.
I guess that really moves us nicely towards Pierre's question, who draws upon the fact that you both mentioned your first coaches. What were the qualities that these coaches had to help you both love the game, but also keep you in the game?
Well, I can start. I mentioned it. I think this coach made me feel accepted. You know, I was not accepted by the society because I was so tall. So I always felt like I'm not part of this society. And what she did is all of a sudden, I was the key kind of ingredient in the team because I was so tall. I was feeling accepted. Everybody was helping me to feel comfortable in the environment. And they were supporting me, listening to me. And all of a sudden, the whole world around me changed only thanks to this coach that kind of made me feel like comfortable. So that was my main thing. And as I said, then you obviously like the sport as well. And you always, it's good to make the players understand that they are contributing to the team. Even if you are the 12th, the last player in the team, you have a role and you are helping the team in certain ways. And this was for me, I am a very team player, and this was even in some moments when I was not the scorer, or I never scored for any point in many games, but they felt like you are so important for the team. You know, this was for me the key hook moment, probably.
Okay, it's very interesting. Just a couple of things. When I was the 11, 12-year-old skinny talented player, at the same time, volleyball and basketball coach recruited me. Both female, they used to be teammates, actually, in both volleyball and basketball. And it was to the point where they actually argued in their relationship, not argued aggressively. They were extremely intelligent, but they almost fell out over this skinny kid because I started with one, then went to the other, then I wasn't sure which sport I like more. But the thing is exactly this polite consistency that she had. When she sees that maybe I now my attention is doing something else, she'll find a way to come to talk to me, to talk to my mother, without being forceful. She has to practice just the consistency. Even when we went with my parents abroad for half year, they sent me a basketball signed by all my teammates with this nice note: "We would love to have you for the finals." And then, of course, I went back for the finals, even if I didn't play for a number of months. So it's just finding the way to really get this connection without me feeling that she's begging me to be there, or in the other way, she's forcing me to be there, just wanting to be there. And I think this is crucially important when I compare with my next coach, who was a male, very competitive, and who was selling to me the fact, you'll be the best in your age group, you'll be the starting guard, you'll be XYZ. He was pushing my competitive edge, but she was pushing other qualities. Be part of the group, be part of the team. You can excel in this and in your education. So just finding that she knew what works for me. So she found the tune to get through me. And I think this was more valuable to me.
We have Gary, so we have a little a series of coaching hacks in ICOACHKIDS, and one of them goes along the lines of build relationships before you build skills, and I think that's what you're talking about here. Not easy, okay, and it's a difficult thing to do, but it's very important. Sorry, Gary, go on. Next question.
Yeah, I guess we have time for one or two more. Obviously, the both of you have a wealth of experiences within basketball, but you've also drawn upon your experiences in multiple sports growing up. Aaron has asked, how would you advise young female players on managing the balance between playing multiple sports at club, school, and even at representative level, along with school, family, and their social time?
I would say just a couple of things on that and pass over to Betty. We all went through that, but I also had it with my daughter. The point is that it's the parents are also involved in this. You have to have this discussion with your child at some point, and then almost like make some decisions when, especially I'm talking of choosing your favorite sport. So which sport you have to play competitively, at some point you have to say that will be my sport, and then which other sport you may play from time to time. For example, when you become a performance basketball player, high level, I was not allowed to ski anymore, or, because of course this is a high risk of injury and things like this. But you have to make your decision. Some people make that decision based on, for example, I can excel in basketball more than I can excel in football or in something else, or they do it just because they enjoy the atmosphere. But earlier or later, you have to make that decision. Otherwise, if a player is everywhere and doing too much sports, this will hurt them. This is now also the discussion between club and school. Clearly, you have to compete for the school teams, but again, do you have to compete the same kid in every single sport at school? And this is what unfortunately happens to a lot of the sporty girls. They're asked to represent the school in everything. So it's got to be this discussion about overuse, but it's got to be a dialogue, family, school, and club, to get that decision. And most importantly, the child has to be also in the middle, not to feel forced to do all this, when they really don't have the desire to do that. So that's my take. Betty.
Yeah, definitely. It benefits to grow up in a multiple sport, because you also biological, you develop skills that you will always need. So I always recommend that to start doing multiple sports, and we both did the same. But also for me, it's important for the parents and entourage of the kids to identify if it's a kid that likes individual sport or team sports, because we see a lot of players that end up playing basketball that they really don't fit in the team environment, right? So, and this is something that you as a parent, you need to identify if my son or daughter wants to be the winner or we want to win in a team. This is also important to identify. And then also if you have this competitiveness inside of you, because you don't need to have it always inside. And then also identify, because the problem is then girls or boys, they drop out because they don't want to get into this too much pressure, and then we lost them from the sport, and this we cannot afford, you know. So this is the things that we need to understand and balance.
Thank you. We have one final question, and I'm going to go over to Phil's question here, who's asked, if you were responsible for building a club girls program from scratch, what would your main priorities be?
Correct. I go. I would love.
Yeah, you
I
go.
would love.
You go.
I would love to have this was my dream always, to create my own club, and if possible, obviously to have a club for girls. And I think first of all you need to identify the mentor. So Sergio will be my first pick for choose to come and be part of my, because I like his way of coaching. I think he is fantastic, and this is the way I would love my players. No, it's true. It's not because I know you, but so it is this type of coaches I would love to have around me, and yeah, create this atmosphere where the players should come and feel comfortable and enjoy. For me, everything is about enjoying and then giving the opportunities step by step.
I totally agree. It's got to be nice atmosphere, safe environment, but also for them to feel challenged in a positive way as far as their skills improving and developing and feeling they're achieving something. I think is very important, the coaching team, you know, because we have too many clubs that are practically one coach with their group. So I think the most successful clubs are when you have a group of people working together and creating these environments and basically bringing different positives to the group, and then involving the kids also, so they feel they're part of the club. They're not just coming, playing or practicing, going away, but they contribute to the club. These are usually the most successful environments.
And I forgot, sorry, one thing, just also as a coach to let the players go. You know, when you see that they reach the top, don't be selfish and keep them because you want to win a game or a league or something. Just do the best for the players and let them go and grow, because this is something that is also, I remember for this first coach, when I was so good, instead of keeping me there, she pushed me to go elsewhere, even though for her it was a big loss, I assume, but she pushed me, and this also stayed in my mind as a very positive move from her.
I think that resonates with another one of our coaching hacks, Sergio, where it's helped the children develop wings to fly. And often we have to let them fly the nest. Betty, Ramila, thank you for your responses to the audience questions. I know they've gone down really well in the chat there. Sergio, back over to you.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, a big thank you to Ramila and Betty for their time and their expertise today, and for also Betty for making me feel like $1 million there. Happy days.
I'm your agent. Don't forget
Yes. 10%. No, but look, for me, obviously we've talked about some concrete strategies to make it easier for girls to get into sport and to stay there. But we always say that if a governing body, whether it is a national governing body or an international governing body, if that governing body doesn't really put their money where their mouth is and really commits to this, it's really difficult for coaches on the ground or clubs on the ground to do anything, okay? Because we need a common approach, really, and we need to work together. I'm very proud to say that FIBA has really taken this very seriously. It's one of the 3 main priorities for FIBA over the next 4 years. And I'm very proud that you were here today to explain this to everybody, both from basketball and from other sports. A big thank you as well to all the people that tuned in today live and the hundreds and thousands that will watch it on the YouTube channel over the next few days and weeks. Please, if anybody has any questions, get in touch with us and we'll get those over to Betty and Ramila. And other than that, just keep an eye on our social media for our next webinar over the next few weeks. We've got a full program of webinars now until June with some great speakers, really. And stay safe, stay connected, and have a great time. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, and good luck.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye.